Joel Brady that hasn't even played in the minor leagues yet in his career. And then you have a guy like Askarov that if the Devils decided to take him, okay, there's nothing wrong with, goaltending competition. And if you're going to have a young goaltending tandem and Askarov and Blackwood are constantly fighting for the number one spot and playing well together as a good tandem, that's great. But I think the Devils should just basically give Corey one more opportunity with a very, very, very little patience. So, like, if he plays like crap through his first game or two, you got to really start to be like, all right, we can't do this. And unfortunately, you may have to swallow the bullet and just decide to take, buy him out, even though that would suck. I also did, mention on social media about all the Devils had apparently, from a rumor, had asked the Rangers about Henrik Lundqvist. Unless the Devils could get him via free agency, if he gets bought out, and the Devils just want to move on from Corey without giving him another chance and buy him out, then okay. But if you're going to go that route, then you're better off getting somebody in the free agent market. I really like Thomas Greiss. I think Thomas Greiss would be an excellent backup for the Devils if that's what they want to go with. If Corey Crawford wants to leave and he's okay with being a backup, that's another guy I would like to see. But I think as far as the goaltending situation, I think right now you got to stick with Blackwood and Schneider and give Schneider very little breathing room to make mistakes. Because if he starts looking very poorly and giving up soft goals, you really would have to make a decision quick, because you don't want, in a rebuild, you don't want your young goaltender, your number one goaltender, to have to play so much before he gets burnt out himself. So I think I don't think the Devils should really touch on the goaltending situation unless they have already made the choice that they're moving on from Corey. But as far as I know, I haven't heard anything about
No, I know. I know Joe and I have discussed this, and they're not going to do it at 7. I can't say. Maybe they would. Maybe they'll pull a rabbit out of their ass.
No, trust me, they're not taking Askarov.
Not at 7.
They're not taking
not
him
at 7.
Not that early.
Not
that early.
The earliest they'll take him is 18 if he's there.
18 or 20. That's unless I'm trading up from 18 or 20, and he's like falling, then I get it. But I'm not touching him at 7. If they had if they had the 10 vote pick in like that 9 to 11 range, then I could have kind of got behind it. But I can't. You're starting to see him in a lot of mock drafts. He's falling. So, but I think.
Right.
I think come the draft, I mean, there's always surprises. You see goalies fall because nobody ever knows with a goaltender, right, in their development, how long it's going to take. And, having a 1-2 tandem of Askarov and Blackwood down the road for a couple of years would be good, because if one guy struggles, one guy can probably, run with the workload for a bit. But in competition and depth at any position is always good. It factors in, for trades down the road, et cetera. But do you think it's safe to say that come the draft, if Askarov is falling, he probably doesn't get by Carolina or Edmonton?
Yeah.
He definitely doesn't get past Carolina. There's no question about that.
I don't think the Hurricanes don't really have I don't know. I can't see them taking just knowing how that organization runs, or at least having an idea of it. I can't see them taking a goalie with their first round pick. Edmonton, on the other hand, I could totally see it. But I don't. I could see him getting past the Hurricanes. And where are the Blackhawks in the first round? They're like 15 or something, right?
Yeah, I think they're 15, 16.
Yeah, they're right before Montreal at 15, I think.
Yeah, so I could see Askarov going to maybe Chicago or Edmonton. I don't see Carolina being the team that takes him.
I also think that because Pittsburgh now has Toronto's first round pick, which I think is 16th, if I have it correctly, considering the fact that there is a chance that either Matt Murray or Tristan Jarry is out the door, after this, during this offseason, I wouldn't be surprised if the Penguins decided to go and get Askarov to kind of be like the franchise goaltender, the guy that they, try to have as the long term. Let's try to keep this going.
Didn't the Penguins give up
but
their first round pick?
Yeah,
they gave up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they just traded it
Yeah,
away.
they don't have it this
But
year.
in the Kapanen
Oh, right.
deal.
No, Toronto. Sorry, I screwed that.
Yeah, it's all
Toronto
right.
has Pittsburgh's
Yeah.
pick. And I mean, Toronto could do it too, because I'm already hearing that Freddie Anderson, there's 75% chance he's probably out the door.
Yeah, I've heard that
I heard that rumor.
Yeah, I've heard the Leafs have no interest in re-signing him when he's a free agent next year. So,
Which is kind of crap, because I don't think he's that bad.
yeah.
He's actually
he's
requested a trade. So the two teams I've heard Calgary and Carolina. So
yeah, that's why I think maybe Carolina may not go. If Askarov is there at their pick, they may not do it because they may be like, well, we probably are going to get Freddie Anderson, so why bother?
I think the name to watch on the trade market is Matt Murray.
Yes.
There was
yes, please.
The Leafs. He was an original draft pick of the Leafs, and I think he was at least discussed as part of that Kapanen trade. It just never went through. So I could see the Leafs maybe trying to get Matt Murray at some point. I'm not saying that I've heard the Devils would try to get Matt Murray, but I wouldn't rule it out either if they try to trade for him. I know he had a terrible season this year, but
I would prefer Jari over Matt Murray.
Yeah, but there's no chance they're trading Jari.
Yeah, Tristan Jari he has to be their franchise goalie at this point.
Yeah, so Matt Murray is the name inconsistent goalie, but that's if the Devils maybe go to the trade market for a goalie, then yeah, I could see them maybe trying to make a play for Murray, but I can't see them giving up one of their first round picks for a goalie.
I don't think we'll hear anything about these type of guys until probably once the Stanley Cup Finals is over, because I think the Devils, the advantage that they have is that they've been able to probably create 3 or 4 different plans that they can use to go forward in this offseason. And I think they're just going to wait it out and see what teams decide to do. That's why I was so surprised by the trade between Pittsburgh and Toronto for Kasperi Kapanen. I was like, wow, they're not even waiting to see what else happens. They're just going to we're going to make a trade. And so and also, again, we have to remember the Devils have, I think, either the second or they have the most cap space going into this offseason, despite the fact that the salary cap is staying put where it is. So the Devils have a lot of an advantage when it comes to the negotiation table with any of these teams that they try to make a trade, that they could probably get Matt Murray and probably something else pretty decent. I don't know if a pick or, another, maybe a young prospect as well. I don't know. It would just depend on what they want to do. But I think the Devils will definitely have an advantage when it comes to making any sort of deal with any team this offseason.
Okay, therefore, so people are dealing with the Devils.
Yeah. So that kind of leads it kind of straight into our next discussion then. So,
yes.
I know Alex and Joe agree with me here, but Neil, do you think it's safe to say that our big move won't be like it was? I think it was the second year that Shero was here. July 1, I think we were expecting some moves or whatever it was, and then our big move that day, the Devils signed Eric Greiba. Do you guys remember that?
I do.
Dude, the greatest Devil to ever wear number 2.
That was after the playoff season.
Okay, Mark Fraser might have something to say about that. Okay.
Ooh. I think Eric Shilitsky might have something to say about that as well.
Zalitsky was a better number 2, honestly.
Yeah. That was more of a sarcastic answer, but yeah.
Oh, that was short-lived.
But okay, so I know Alex. I know you got an article coming out about this tomorrow or in the coming days, but Neil, you and I were talking about this a lot earlier. You want to dive into this? You want to start us off here? I know where this is going. So.
Sure. So obviously, I'm guessing the question you're asking me is that what do I expect the Devils to do this offseason?
Yeah. What do you expect them to do? And do you expect them to pull off an absolute home run blockbuster, whether it be signing, trade?
Yeah.
And do you think with the names who's available and who we're about to discuss, which is probably going to get the entire Devils fan base excited and on their feet? Oh,
yeah. My tweet earlier seemed to piss off some people, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, there's some fans of this organization that just that nothing will ever satisfy them because they're so used to
Welcome to Twitter.
Right.
Yeah, the glass is half empty all the time.
Welcome to hockey Twitter,
some of them don't understand the patience it takes to rebuild an entire organization. But anyway, you want to dive into kind of what this is?
Sure. Well, the first thing I'll say is this: it's understandable that a lot of fans are not happy with the fact that the Devils have not made some of the moves that they've seen other teams make, and especially because we kind of went through a quote unquote rebuild, so to speak, I guess you want to call it, and it didn't produce very much. So some Devils fans' patience are very thin, and that's understandable. I obviously want to give Lindy Ruff and Fitzgerald an opportunity to prove themselves whether they can or cannot do the job that they need to do. As far as this offseason, obviously I would love to just sit here and tell you guys that I think that they're definitely going after somebody big name, but the reality is simply this. The Devils have made it clear that they are in a rebuild. They are probably 2 or 3 years away from being a really, really, competitive Stanley Cup, team. And they clearly want to build around Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Mackenzie Blackwood, Ty Smith. They clearly want to build around those guys. I think if the Devils were to get anybody big, it would have to be in a way that they don't have to break the bank and they don't have to give up major assets. So in this latest episode of the Devil's State of Mind podcast that, was put out earlier today, I had talked about Johnny Gaudreau because Johnny Gaudreau was one of the guys that has been rumored heavily to the New Jersey Devils because he's a Jersey kid, albeit from South Jersey, but still, he's from New Jersey and everything. I said that the only way I would want the Devils to make a deal with them is that if they don't have to give up anything crazy. And what I mean by crazy is like multiple first-round picks and maybe someone like Ty Smith or Kevin Ball. I would just laugh the door and slam the door on Calgary's face. It'd be like, nice try. You're not doing that. I think with basically anybody big name when it comes to trades, since the Devils probably have an advantage over a lot of teams with regards to that they have a lot of cap and they could take on a bad contract if they want to if a team wants to, hopefully throw that in. I think that the Devils could definitely make a deal work that could be fair. It all just depends on the player that they're talking about, and we've heard numerous guys already, but there probably are other guys out there that we don't know about yet that may be available via trade. We just don't know what the market and the offseason is really going to be until it actually begins. Because even though the Devils have been in an offseason since, freaking early March, we haven't really, not every team is focused on next season because we're still in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So when you look at this situation, I think that the Devils will probably call a few teams and see if they're just kind of feel their way as to what teams might be asking for. But I personally don't think the Devils will make any big moves to get anybody really big name. As much as I would love for them to go after someone like a Patrick Laine, Nicola Ehlers, obviously Johnny Gaudreau, or anybody else like that, unless the deal is going to, not cost them so much, maybe they only give up one of those 3 first-round picks. Maybe they have to give up a second-tier prospect. If they can do something like that, I'm all for it. But other than that, I'm very much like, we have 3 first-round picks with a very deep draft class, particularly with forwards. I think it would be better for the Devils to use those picks on players that they can develop so that in the next 2 or 3 years they can come up to the big club and really help this team take the next step. But clearly the Devils will have an advantage in the negotiations for a lot of these guys. And, it all just depends on what the asking price is for any of the guys that they're interested in. And as far as free agency, we have to remember that Tom Fitzgerald is a ratio guy. So he learned a lot of the same things. So if the Devils are going to make a signing, it will probably be for a mid-tier defenseman, a veteran defenseman, because they may just want to have one more. And so they don't have to have all these young guys play right away. And that probably is about it. I don't really see them making any sort of big moves. So even though obviously when your team is involved in rumors, you get excited and you think, oh, maybe there's something to it. It's not always that case. And the Devils haven't made one of those dramatic, big-time moves for a big-time player since they acquired Ilya Kovalchuk from Atlanta. So that was the last time. And you're talking about a decade ago.
Well, there was Taylor Hall, too.
Well, they did. Yeah, that's true. You're right. They did acquire Taylor Hall as well. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And Kyle Palmieri.
You know,
Paul Murray wasn't like really a big
yeah,
trade.
but when Palmieri got traded to New Jersey, nobody thought